I think I introduced this man to you maybe the last time I was here last year. Frederick Buechner. He actually died, maybe a month or two ago. He was in Vermont, that was his home and so forth. Background for the entrance to the story. Frederick Buechner reflected on a question that was asked of him by a visitor to his summer mountaintop home. Why on earth do you ever leave this place? He gave a serious thought to this and said, I would want to turn this question around and ask it of the whole world. Thinking about this question, I would say, life is movement. We can hardly say anything more about it that is more sure than that. Life is movement. We keep leaving one kind of time for another kind of time, one place for another place, one job, one set of friends for the next, and then on to the next after that, and so on. Until finally we come to the end of our time and the last of our places. Whether the things that we leave are pleasant or unpleasant, peaceful or turbulent, we never stop leaving them for other things. That is what life is. The visitor's question, why do you ever leave this place, is about as searching a question as it is possible to ask. Not all our becauses ever quite seem to drown out the great and persistent why. Why? Why have we always left to come to wherever we are? Close quote. Well, now hold on to that for a moment. Why on earth do you leave this place? I would try to answer it this way, I think. I leave it in hopes of becoming a better and deeper person. I think, too, this is the way that we all would answer that question about all our comings and goings, whether we realize it or not. If wherever we are, we find it not to be the place where we can become more human, more fully alive, then it's simply the wrong place for us to be. Let me add this. If the church is not a place, a reality, where we not only learn something about what it means to be human, but a place or event where seeds of a fuller humanity are planted in us and watered to grow, then all our hymns, prayers, and preaching are simply empty. Now, isn't this at least implicitly contained in something that Jesus said about leaven in the dough and a treasure in a field? Let's pursue it. Two very fine novels written some years ago, one by a Roman Catholic and one by a self-professed atheist, come to mind as being very much involved with addressing the question, what does it really mean to be more human, more fully alive? In the novel, The Power and the Glory, first one, the Roman Catholic author Graham Greene presents us with the hero, or possibly the non-hero, a seedy, alcoholic Roman Catholic priest who, after months as a fugitive, is finally caught by the revolutionary Mexican government and condemned to a firing squad. On the evening before his execution, sitting in his cell, he thinks back over what seems to him the dingy failure of his whole life. Green writes, quote, "Tears poured down his face. He was not at the moment afraid of damnation. Even the fear of pain was in the background. He felt only an immense disappointment because he had to go empty-handed with nothing done at all. Go to God empty-handed." He said that it seemed to him at that moment that it would have been quite easy to have been a saint. A little more self-restraint, a little more courage. He felt like someone who had missed happiness by seconds at an appointed place. He knew now that at the end there was only one thing that counted: to be a saint. In the other novel, The Plague by Albert Camus, the self-professed atheist, there is a conversation he gives us that takes place between two atheists. One of them, a journalist, and the other, a doctor, who has been trying to stop the plague that has been devastating the city where they both live. "It comes to this," says one of the atheists to the other. "What interests me is learning to become a saint." Interesting, huh? Close quote. Why do you ever leave this place? Well, why do any of us leave all the places and times and worlds that we are always leaving? What is the ultimate motive that underlies the unending movement of your life and my life? It is to become more human, more fully alive. In short, to become saints, says this odd pairing of novelists. To be a saint is to be more human, more fully alive. Because why? Because simply we were created to be just that. To be a saint is to live with courage and self-restraint, says the whiskey priest. But it is more than that. To be a saint is to live not with hands clenched to grasp, to strike, to hold tight to life that is always slipping away. But to be a saint is to live with hands outstretched, to both give and receive with gladness. To be a saint is to work and weep for the broken and suffering of the world. But it is also to be strangely light of heart in the knowledge that there is something greater than the world, which makes whole that which is broken and makes new that which is grown old and cold and full of suffering. Maybe, just maybe more than anything else, to be a saint is to know a deep down joy. That kind of joy which G.K. Chesterton has called the gigantic secret of the Christian. This is the kind of joy that does not come and go, with the moments that occasion it. A joy that is always, always there, like an underground spring. To be a saint is to live a life that is always giving itself away and yet always full. Beneath all our yearnings, for whatever glitters brightest in the world, lies our yearning for this kind of life. The question is, of course, how do we find this life? How do we get to where we can live it and live it naturally and spontaneously, the way the grass grows? I wish I could devise a blueprint for that, but I can't. Nobody can. Well, how then do we find our way toward becoming more human, fully alive? Becoming saints, in other words. How then do we find the kingdom of heaven? We should know the answer to this. By listening to the stories Jesus told. Stories that reveal the prize at the end worth more than whatever it costs to reach it. There is a merchant, as we heard, who spends his life searching for fine pearls until he comes to one such great splendor that he sells all the others just to buy that one. There is a man walking through a field somewhere when, to his amazement, he discovers a great tree. And he goes out and buys that field. Then in his joy, as Jesus said, he sells all that he has and he buys that field. When Jesus speaks of the kingdom of heaven, there is a note of joy running through his words, and with it, this note of surprise. It is more wonderful than anyone could have dared hope. And there is a sense, too, that once we glimpse this kingdom, tasted its life, we understand that nothing, absolutely nothing else matters. There's only one thing that really counts, the whiskey priest says to himself. Only one thing that really interests him. Camus, atheist, says his companion says to his companion, to be a saint, fully human, fully alive, to enter the kingdom of heaven, Jesus calls it. It's a strange and unexpected idea that this is our real business in this world. It is stranger still that even if the whole subject of religion leaves us cold, as well it might, and even if the word saint makes us a bit uneasy, nonetheless, it is a saint that of all things we really do want to become. It is joy that we are really, really after. Joy. God knows we settle for less, right? Money, power, a good job. But all these things are only pearls, but not quite the pearl for which our hearts yearn. To find it, maybe it's found best by not looking too hard for it. However inanely and blindly we are seeking the kingdom of heaven, sometimes in the darkest of places. This is true. The kingdom of heaven is seeking to find us. While it is our secret purpose to become saints, well, it is God's not so secret purpose to make us that, His saints. So why? Why do we ever leave the places, and the times, and the worlds which we are always seen to be leaving? To become more human, more fully alive, to become saints. That's all that really matters. So count it all joy. That's our gigantic secret.